you strike me down, I shall become more powerful than you could possibly imagine.
All right, everybody, Rebellion is getting closer and closer, only a few weeks away from Splinterland's Christmas, basically. Forget their real Christmas. We've got Splinterland's Christmas coming up December 5th, and we are starting to see more and more alpha drop for what is coming. There was a town hall yesterday. They dropped a gold mine of goodies. I'm a little bit late getting into it, but I had to make a video to talk about this because we've got 5 new card reveals, actually kind of 5.5. We saw part of another card in a screenshot as well. We've got a weapons training rework. We've got details on the new ability from the card that I was able to reveal on my Twitch stream. That's right, if you guys like streams, Splinterland streams, make sure you check me out over on Twitch as well. That link is down below. But let's not waste any time. Let's hop in and let's look at some of the new cards. Let's start off with the summoners. One of the first summoners we can see, there's 2 new kind of summoner gameplay aspects here in Rebellion, and we got to see parts from both of them. So first we have Zedekah here, no abilities, 3 mana, no abilities, but dual mana. So this card is going to allow you to choose from either water or death cards. You can mix and match between both. Now, in order to do this, water and death both have to be allowed. Like if death is banned and you choose this summoner, you still can only play water cards. So that's going to really change. This is the first time that we've seen some dual element monsters like Zyriel. Oh, we'll get to her in a second. But we've seen some dual element monsters that can be played under either type of summoner. Now we're going the other way. The summoner can choose either cards from either element. So a lot of people said this is OP. Is this too powerful? I think it's definitely extremely powerful in the right niche situations. So first off, I'm assuming that in silent summoners, you can still choose from both elements. It'd kind of be hard to cancel that out, right? How would that even work? If you select her and that's not canceled, what, you can't choose any? Like I'm assuming that will still work in silent summoners, which would still give it this card its full benefit, and it's going to be 3 mana is the lowest cost summoner you have in the modern rule set. So especially in moderns. Now in wild, you've still got the 2 mana summoners that maybe will be, you could argue in some situations might be better. But in modern, I feel like these summoners are going to dominate silent summoners. And then what Matt really talked about is how these are going to be very good when you have limited options to select from. Because if you have a bunch of mana and there's not a lot of things that are banned, let's say you're just playing a standard rule set and you got 45 mana to choose from. Are you really going to want to play this card as opposed to one of your legendary summoners? If you look at what we have, are you going to want to play this over Possibilis? Are you going to want to play this over Kelia? If you're working at lower mana cost, Kelia's 4 mana. Is it really worth giving up that 1 armor, that 1 speed in order to save 1 mana and to be able to play death cards as well? There's probably enough of in a single element if you have enough options. But you get down to maybe those lower mana, maybe where you have like, okay, odd ones out where you can only play odd cards. Oh, and the epics and the legendaries are banned. So you just don't have a lot of choices. Being able to essentially double the amount of cards you can choose from when you have a limited selection, that can be very, very powerful. So I see a lot of people thinking that these might get nerfed as we go through testing a little more. Again, all of these are subject to change, by the way. They're still doing testing. They say they're going to open up to Mavs right before it goes live for some last minute testing as well. And there are frequently changes. So all of these cards you're going to see are subject to change, but I don't think it will. I think this is pretty balanced in the right rule sets, or in the right situations. These are going to be very powerful, but they're not going to be very powerful all the time. I think it's going to be fairly select situations. So, and that's what, with anything that you see, that is what Matt has really said he wants. He wants to have cards that are super powerful, but only in select situations, so that as you play the game and you come across the billions of combinations of different mana rule sets and such, you're always going to be wanting to playing different cards, and it's beneficial to have a wide variety of cards. But when you come into certain situations, some cards are just ridiculously powerful, and that's okay as long as they're not ridiculously powerful all the time. All right, our next summoner, sticking with the water element, Prophet Rosa, which this is the second new gameplay element from that Rebellion is going to bring is you are now going to have choices here. So you're going in this case, you can give. Can you guys see all of this? You can't. I gotta make this a little bit smaller. There we go. You can give 2 cards. You see the 2 down there, plus 2 ranged, or 1 card shield. So you have a choice, and you're gonna make this choice for battles that are occurring live, like ranked battles where you're playing your opponent at the same time. You're gonna make this selection after you see your opponent's team. Now, if you're doing something like brawls or tournaments where you submit the battle and then your opponent might submit the battle 2 hours later, you have to make that before you see your opponent's selection. But if we're talking about ranked play, you get to select this in a second phase of gameplay. So let's kind of see. Here's an example. Now, in this case, the screenshot they showed, you can't see your opponent's cards because they haven't submitted yet. But once your opponent submits, those cards will be filled out and you'll be able to see what your opponent has chosen and then try to make the choice. And you can select whether you want to give shield or plus 2 range to 2 cards. You can even give plus 2 range to your opponent's cards if you want. It doesn't even have to be your own. Why would you want to do that? Oh, maybe let's say you've got a force field tank and your opponent has a couple 3 or 4 ranged attackers. Well, let's boost up their attack. So now they're over 5 attack. Now they trigger that force field and you've actually nerfed their damage by giving them more attack. So there can be a lot of strategy here, and it really it's cool that we're getting to see the second phase of gameplay. This is really going to expand with the whole point of land was to bring items and spells, right? For this second phase of gameplay where you can make adjustments to your team after you see your opponent's team. This is just the start of this. I'm super excited for this aspect. So if we go back to this card, the shield, man, there's some cards that can be really powerful given a shield. Bakjira with a shield. There's some, I feel like there's some very, very good options there. And the range plus 2 to 2 cards, I think that could, that seems like I feel like it's a very solid card. Oh, by the way, let's go back to this screen. You can't see it right now. Let me take myself off the screen here. There is another card down here. I said we were going to reveal 5.5 cards. This is kind of the half card. This was in a screenshot. Now, they have showed other screenshots. Do I have one of them up? Let me go over here. Where are we at with I don't think I have it at the moment. This is what I get for making videos live here. They've shown some screenshots that have some outdated cards that we know are outdated or no longer accurate. So maybe this is not even accurate. They did not specifically reveal this and say this was a card, but it's still fun to talk about anyways, right? Down here we have, I love this combo down here. We don't see the name of the card. We can't see how much mana it costs, but down in the bottom left-hand corner, protect, which is gonna give armor, and repair. That combo together, when you give everybody armor and then add the repair, that is very, very nice. Make sure all those cards have armor so you have something to repair. Then, blind's always a solid card. That gives that 15% dodge chance. 15% if it's on your side. If it's on the opponent's side, it's 55%, right? That's how it usually works. No, that's not true. I don't want to create rumors here. Cleanse, just kind of a solid support card. It looks like it has no attack. Might be useful for weapons training. We'll get into that in a second, because there is a weapons training rework. So, but what about this whole screen here? If I zoomed in too much here. Let's kind of zoom out here, because what is this card doing here? You see, it says select targets. We have the ambush ability. Give ambush to 2 units. We saw this card right here on my live stream, and we had no idea what ambush did. We had some guesses. My personal guess was wrong. The guess that I liked best, besides that I mentioned on the last video, was actually spot on. Ambush is going to give, there's now basically an ambush round, like a round 0 kind of, where all cards with ambush will attack. So in this example here, they've given ambush. I say attack, they will go through their turn. So you're going to allow cards to attack. You could allow cards to heal or whatever the case is. A lot of times you're not probably not necessarily going to want to heal unless you've got another ambush that's going to attack and something like that, and you could heal them back up, whatever the case is. But the cards will go through whatever their action is before you hit round 1. So this card over here that we look at that has ambush, it's going to get a sneak attack in before the battle begins. I like it a lot. Brand new ability. They said the reason they didn't reveal this ability before, because they revealed 4 abilities, was they wanted to ambush us with the reveal of the ambush card. I liked it. Kind of corny, but I still like it. All right, let's get on to some more cards. And it's Soothsayer. This has one of our new abilities as well. It's got that lookout ability. Let's get that on the screen there. It's got that lookout ability that's going to protect cards from ambush. They didn't mention that because we didn't know the ambush ability, but it's going to decrease the damage cards deal during the ambush phase. It's going to decrease the damage of sneak, opportunity, snipe cards for the adjacent monsters. Reduce it by 1. So that's helpful, kind of reduce some of those damage. It has tank heal and cleanse. That's always a nice combo because now when you put those on the same card, things like affliction aren't going to do anything. You can't stop that heal because you can just cleanse it and then heal. And it has dispel. Dispel is becoming very, very good because some of the things dispel's counters keep getting buffs. We keep seeing more and more bloodlust, which we can now dispel. They changed it so weapons training can be dispelled. That was done a little while ago. And weapons training is getting a massive buff. So if weapons training gets a buff, that means the counter to it, dispel, gets a buff. So this is it's kind of an expensive support card at 6. So a lot of times you see these cards lower mana. It does have a little bit of attack, has a good chunk of health too. Has some dodge. But this is gonna be a nice little support card here. Chaos Animator, card number 2. I instantly see this card and I think, I like to run. I've got a death team that I like to run. That's a redemption team where you throw some weaken cards in to lower their health. You throw a bunch of redemption cards in and let the redemption take out everything. Well, here it's a cheap 3 mana redemption card. Got a decent amount of health, especially without Void. Got a decent chunk of health and armor there for only 3 mana. And we've got another card that has no attack that can be paired with weapons training. I think this one can be pretty nice. And Amplify is always good. The amount of thorns, return fire, reflect that we see out there. Having an Amplify card to throw in there, a cheap Amplify card, is very, very nice. So before we get on to weapons training, one more card here. Infernal Firestorm. This is the first card we get to see with the flank ability. So flank is going to give, if you put it in the tank spot, it's going to give the card behind it reach. So now you can stick some of your big melee cards behind it. Put this as your tank. Again, he's got a lot of health, got a lot of armor. Throw the melee card behind it that can now attack. Imagine being able to throw Grum behind it. Grum's, a decent tank himself, but now he can be attacking in that second spot, maybe picking up some bloodlust before he gets to the first spot. There's a lot of good melee cards you could stick there in that second spot. Use them as a second tank. I think this card looks really, really good. Got some magic damage. And you can put him in different spots. You can use him as a tank. You could throw him as the back and have some sneak defense. And then by the time he gets up to the front, he can survive for a little while. You can stick him in great for a snipe spot. Throw him in the second spot. He's magic. He'll absorb a lot of those snipe attacks. If you're expecting some snipe hits. Very versatile card that you can put in a lot of different spots. I like it. I like what we're seeing so far for Rebellion. And I think they're good. Some people said there's too much power creep. I think the cards are good, but I don't necessarily feel like it's a power creep level, but we'll see. We will see. But all right, let's go back. We've got some of these cards are going to benefit from weapons training, right? So we need to talk about weapons training. Weapons training gets 2 major buffs. The first buff is that it now grants the full attack to the adjacent cards. By the way, if you've been living under a rock here, maybe you were playing before coming back, maybe you haven't played at all, maybe you don't know what weapons training is. Weapons training, a card that has weapons training, as of right now, gives half of its attack to cards that have no attack adjacent to it. So if you play a weapons training card next to Chaos Animator right now gets half that attack. Once Rebellion gets here and the update comes, it will give the full attack up to 4. It caps out at 4 attack. You can give up to 4 of the attack to adjacent cards. So this card's only 3 mana. You put Zyriel next to it, you give it up to 4 attack. Becomes a very cheap attacking card. And then benefit number 2, which is a huge buff, is that as of right now, when the weapons training card dies, the adjacent cards will lose that attack. That will no longer be the case. They will permanently keep that attack regardless of whether the weapons training card lives or not. Other than Dispel, we already mentioned you can Dispel weapons training, but it is now no longer dependent on that card staying alive. So there are weapons training cards just get a huge boost. And I think it's interesting because it used to be, as I'm pulling up some weapons training cards here, it used to be that, I shouldn't say it used to be. When they first mentioned weapons training, can we get these all on the same screen here? We kind of can. When they first mentioned weapons training, they said it was giving the full attack. And then they said it was too strong in testing and they backed it down to half. Now they're making it back up to the full attack. So we're going to see, they have not been happy with, I feel like a lot of these weapon training cards just haven't been being used. And so they thought they would buff it a little bit. And I think it's interesting that they're making this judgment right now, because the biggest reason I haven't used weapons training cards is because I don't have them. I think Zyriel is very, very good. When I rent that card, I love to play it. I just don't have it most of the time. Phyrexian Hero, I first said Phyrexian Hero was my favorite reward card, and the new reward cards that came out. I still think it is very good. It has some very, very fun pairings, and I don't use it because I haven't gotten that card yet. Kuo Mastermind, probably the card I use the most. It's a solid card. I feel like it's very good. It's gonna be, I mean, I use it a lot. I mean, cards like, we've already mentioned Bakjira. Bakjira can now gain more attack from Kuo Mastermind. That's gonna be nice. Avis, Skok, I don't have those cards. Barracks I have, but I feel like Barracks was just underpowered. I feel like his attack wasn't enough. I don't like the ranged weapon training as much. Although it's gonna be nice with Ava, for example. Ava has that close range, so it can attack up front. But one of the reasons I didn't like, a lot of times I don't like range because I typically don't put that many ranges out there. And then it really, as Ava gets up to the front, just feels like they die off too fast and then lose that attack. At least now you won't lose that attack, or if you, okay, a card like Avis, for example, just doesn't have very much health. Kind of a thing with Zyriel as well. There's just not a lot of health there. Very susceptible to reflect. You throw a couple of reflects in there, and then Avis dies to reflect. And then the cards beside it are no longer attackers, and they're kind of useless because you threw them in spots where they wanted to attack. I feel like that's where a card like Avis is really going to benefit from the weapons training continuing on after death, because that's no longer as much of a threat. You can have some beefier cards that aren't as susceptible to reflect beside it, and then you're not, I mean, you still obviously don't want that card to die off, but if it does, it's not as big of a deal. You're not as susceptible to reflect as we were before. So overall, it's just a huge buff to weapons training. Kuo Mastermind, Phyrexian Hero, Zyriel. I already thought If I could talk. I already thought those were 3 extremely good cards. And now they just got a massive buff. I mean, Zyrael... I mean, I had fun making Zyrael teams. You come up here, she has 5 attack when she's maxed out. You can see a max there on the gold version. I think you guys can see that. There we go, right above me. So I will only grant 4 attack now. So it was granting 3 in the past, now it's 4. I mean, that's a 2 attack buff, one to each side if you're putting 1 on each side. Already good, gets a little better. I don't know, I'm worried they may have overdone it with the weapons training. I really worry, I'm not really worried. But that's a massive, massive buff, so we will see. All right, what do you guys think? How excited are you for Rebellion? Like I said earlier, it's gonna be like Christmas. I cannot wait. Unfortunately, I have to work that day. I won't be home until late, but 7, 8 o'clock Eastern on the 5th, we're going to have a massive stream. I've got a bunch of packs to open up. I bought plenty of packs. We're gonna open up some packs. We're gonna combine cards. We're gonna play with them. We're gonna have fun all that week. It is going to be an absolute blast. I can't wait for new cards. It's gonna be so much fun. A lot of you are so happy Untamed is rotating out, but this is going to be amazing. I cannot wait. Make sure you guys go sub to my Twitch as well. Turn on those notifications so you can be a part of these live streams. We'll see if maybe we can find some sponsors, maybe some giveaways for those events. Those are gonna be pretty big events. So we will see. I think it's gonna be a lot of fun. I will see you all there.